Now, it's been about 6 years, so we need to keep the budget for the new Cloverfield under $5 million. So, any
This is
ideas?
starting to feel like a bottle episode.
Again with the TV crap.
JJ?
I wouldn't do that. I hate bottle episodes.
Hi, yeah, it's me.
Under $5 million or no movie?
Suck it. I'm doing a bottle episode.
Hello everyone and welcome to Chompt Down Reviews. Ben here as always, and I'm sorry this review of 10 Cloverfield Lane is so late. I had planned for a lot more, but after a podcast went awry because of a vulture attack and many technical difficulties, but this is not a movie I'm willing to forget about. And as always, no spoilers, and if there are, you will be heavily warned. Alright, there might be some by the end, but I will tell you ahead of time. Don't worry about it, I got your back. But if you want to have your mind blown about connections to the first film, I promise you won't want to miss this. Now, did I like 10 Cloverfield Lane? You bet your bottom I did, but not because of what you might expect. If you have been following Cloverfield or Bad Robot at all, I'm sure you know that 10 Cloverfield Lane is not a sequel, but I don't think that's apparent to most audiences because of things like this from the trailer.
What was that? Quiet.
J.J. Abrams' marketing style kind of muddies up the situation, and this sort of misdirection for the sake of mystery does take its toll on the movie, with the film's biggest weakness being that it really doesn't live up to the Cloverfield name. It felt like such a different movie in so many ways from the first that it was barely connected, except for tiny clues put in for speculation reason. But it was a good second installment, especially if they keep doing such varying types of stories when they carry on. All that being said, there are quite a few monsters in this movie, just not how you'd think. But I'm not saying this is a bad movie, at all. I can criticize, but that doesn't mean I have to hate a film. 10 Cloverfield Lane was, as Stephen King put it, a killer thriller. This is Dan Trachtenberg's first major film that he directed, before he just did an indie little Portal film, which is really interesting, and if you like Portal, you should totally check that out. But for his first major film, you have to applaud this guy. He did brilliantly. This movie has serious merits. Nothing too extreme and nothing like the found footage style from the first movie, so don't expect anything like that. But this movie shines at its audio production, which starts you off with really beautiful music. The intro is basically no words and just our main character going through the motions of a breakup, with an orchestral accompaniment that is really beautiful. But that music gets ripped away from you as hard as the normal world does from our main character, in a really devastating title card sequence that I heard a lot of people gasp in my theater at. Just the sound of John Goodman's footsteps and the sound of this door gives so much suspense to this movie. The sound design alone makes this movie worth seeing in theaters, so I really suggest it. 10 Cloverfield Lane is a very minimalist movie, as the Vulture would say, just like a couple other movies I've reviewed recently. And the story takes place in 2 or 3 areas of a very claustrophobic feeling bunker, which is why you could say this movie is bottled up. But it really helps with how the movie shapes its tone. In the claustrophobic feeling when Mew channels her inner solid snake through the vents is... The tone of this movie is as back and forth as the way this movie portrays John Goodman's character, who is my favorite part of this movie, because his character is an absolute enigma. He plays a crazy person so well without overdoing it. For so much of this movie, it will be hard to tell whether he is just an absolute maniac, or this guy trying to survive who's just really kind of oddly adjusted and has daughter issues. And either way, he's weird, don't get me wrong, but he may not necessarily be a bad guy. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Mew as Ryan the Nerd calls her. Check out his videos on Cloverfield, they're quite insightful. Mew has probably the best performance of her career, coming pretty far from Sky High and really improving since Scott Pilgrim, and I cannot wait to see more from her. And John Gallagher, while being overshadowed by the other two hard, plays his role really well. And this minimalist vibe the movie puts out, having such a small cast and keeping the set so confined, only makes these two powerhouse characters feel more powerful. There was really a lot to like about this movie, but it does drag a bit because the movie wants to show the boredom of people living inside of a bunker. Or a bottle, but I never felt bored. I know some people will be bored by the fact that it doesn't have stuff like this the whole time.
Oh my god!
But this movie really masters the slow burn and is a fun time. I give Cloverfield an A- because getting teased sequels that are never gonna happen is rude and uncalled for, Mr. Abrams. And honestly, I probably would have given this movie an A+ if it didn't have Cloverfield in the title. Alright, so now's the part in the show where I want to talk a little bit of spoilers, so if you want, please skip ahead. I'd love for you to stick around with us, or ruin it for yourself, I don't care. Or you could leave and go watch the movie and then come back. Any of these options, I am completely fine with, but just choose wisely. A gripe I have with the movie is I want to know so much more about John Goodman's character, but at the same time I don't. So it's not really a gripe. But John Goodman's character is so strange, and I don't know if he is actually as much of a bad guy as we still think he is at the end of the movie. I do not think that he would have sent Mew to fix that air filter if he knew that there would be something incriminating in there. I think he had far too much affection for her, and that would be way too risky. And when Mew found those earrings and told Emmett about it, I just felt like he hopped on board a little too quickly. It just seemed kind of suspicious suspicious, and the movie didn't really follow up on that. Maybe that's because of reshoots and time constraints, but who knows? And what was up with lying about his daughter's picture? Like, that was so strange. I will definitely have to give that more thought, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts from down below. Also, I want to talk about if these two movies are in the same universe, because it's very unclear if they did. Because it's not like any of the characters would know that much about the first movie. Everything we know about it we've only seen from confidential tapes. But there are two possible connections that I picked up on, aside from all the classic bad robot J.J. Abrams motifs. The radio in the beginning has a reporter talking about electricity being out in the eastern seaboard, and I'm pretty sure this new crisis is in the middle of the country, so I think that might be connected to what happened in the first Cloverfield movie, but there's no way that there was an iPhone 6 in the 2008 Cloverfield universe, so it's pretty unlikely. And also, as promised, if you didn't pick up on this is going to blow your mind. If you remember the Easter egg from the end of the first film, a satellite falls from the sky. It becomes very sus that John Goodman worked on satellites for the Navy, which is a pretty big coincidence and explains a lot of those subliminal teasers that we got. So maybe this is important, and I think I know why. Emmett talks about all these theories that John Goodman's character has, and he says something very strange about John Goodman's character being almost certain that the attack would be from space worms. Yeah. And maybe it's just me, but when those monsters shed back their armor, I thought they kind of looked like worms. And they were definitely from outer space, so maybe he was right. Maybe John Goodman knew everything that was happening. He did kind of know that the air wouldn't be safe to breathe because when the aliens came around, they started blasting toxic spray everywhere, so maybe he was onto something. That's what makes me so confused about his character, and I'd love to know more. But if I'm gonna be honest, the ending was kind of weak. And look, I love Mew's character. I wouldn't dare call her a Mary Sue, and she gets stuff done, but the ending just kind of gets ridiculous. I really like that by the end she had to decide if she was going to keep running away from her problems or go face them head on. I thought the fork in the road was pretty cool. But there's so much story they could put into a sequel that they're probably not going to. It makes me so sad. I hope I popped a few brain cells for you, but, you know, just a few. But that's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you've got friends who are into Cloverfield, share this video around so they can get into the speculation and get into the hype. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you guys real soon with something brand new that I know you guys will enjoy. So I'll see you later, and thank you for joining the Chompt Down. Subscribe to get notifications on brand new Chompt Down reviews, and like if you want to see me rap battle John Goodman, because I think rap battling John Goodman would be a pretty good idea. He's kind of a savage.